Hey you, welcome to my channel. Here I introduce a vintage Mongolian films. I tell their stories and explain the context so that you can learn about Mongolia in a more engaging way with different stories and characters. So if that's your cup of tea, feel free to check out my channel for more videos, and if you like them, please subscribe to my channel. Today's viewing is a movie named Not Married Yet, and it was made in 1981, about 40 years ago. Which is crazy to think, because even now when I think about 1980s, I have this like, oh, it's about 20 years ago or 30 years ago kind of mentality still now, but like the movie was made like 44 years ago, which is crazy. And as the title suggests, this movie shows the youth of that time and their relation to their work and to other relationships. And it was interesting to know that this was a topic of discussion and media even a half a century ago, because like it's all that people are talking about nowadays, that people are marrying late and late, and this was like a case about half a century ago, I guess. In this movie there are like many sub-stories with different characters and different themes, all encompassing around a coal mine in the north of Mongolia, in a quaint little town called Sharingol, or to crudely translate, the River of the Yellow. The state-owned coal mine has the best of Mongolian talents, one of which is Gansukh, an engineer with a heart of coal, because it might be hard, it might be dark, but it's burning hot for the work. He runs the mine like a Marine Corps. The way he runs his meeting it would be enough to put me in coma, because my manager and we used to sandwich our meeting with some like weekend updates, a fun little pop culture gossips and some laughters and things like that, and eventually talk about my subpar performance. But in this movie they just cut straight into it. No warming up, no how are you, like how's the weekend. They just straight up gets into reporting. And Gansukh, as an acute engineer, has been observing, he's been tuning in, and he's been seeing the flaw, a little dent in the system through which a valuable raw material has been seeping through, simply seen as an industrial waste. And he has understood that the factory consumption and a normal household consumption of coal are like different, and the state needs another factory to cater to such differences. So he starts championing the building of another factory in the Grey House, which is our White House. But he has to play the personal and professional politics game, and there are people who are not happy with his idea, and he's not doing his best to really win them over. One of which is his former classmate, who's now his subordinate, Purvdurj. He's kind of envious of Gansukh for making it in the career world better than him, and is holding a grudge against him. And their mutual, Bairsekhang, on the other hand, has chosen the path of academia, and he wants to reach the glory of smartness and intelligence. He wants to form the aura that would accompany him for the rest of his life if he gets that stinking title of PhD. And his dissertation, Restructured Coal, which is the exact thing that Gansukh wants to build a factory for. And in the practical world of engineering, the issue of restructured coal is already solved. And in Gansukh's opinion, putting it in a practical use as the need to provide a quality coal for like normal household consumption is at an all-time high. So from the outsider's perspective, Bairsekhang and Gansukh are working on the same thing. So why not work together? The answer is twofold. Building a factory for a restructured coal and bringing it into a physical reality meant that Bairsekhang's theoretical dissertation would not bring any new knowledge, which is an important requirement for a PhD apparently. And Gansukh thinks that every basic requirement to make this happen is there, and there's no need to wait for more theoretical addition. And based on the complaint of a local herder, Gansukh saw the need and possibility to repurpose the industrial waste into a product. And instead of joining with his friend, Bairsekhang is not letting his dissertation go. So that's the crutch of everything. The mine not only supplies the big factories of the state, but also about 4,000 families that live around the coal. Whilst factory can just burn everything up in a scorching fire in like this big industrial level furnace, a small stove of a family need a pure chunk of coals to really burn and like give heat. And them buying what they think is like pure coal only to have to smell dust particles or to throw away a big part of what they bought is unfair and inefficient. So Gansukh wants Bayersachen to either quicken his experiments and get the title of PhD or whatever, or join him in the factory once he has got the green light from the government. And of course, Bayersachen wants to do things in his own terms. So waiting for him to finish his PhD means that Gansukh has to wait for an uncertain time. And he does not really want to wait any longer because he really wants to make it happen, that he commutes between the capital city and the small town on a train like several times a month just to have meeting with the government people. And I get reminded of the fact that now this is virtually a non-issue to meet anyone these days. Just pick up the phone and there you have it. You can meet anyone. But this was about 40 years ago. You couldn't do that. You really had to travel to simply have a meeting with people. And that's when he meet a group of friends going to the same direction. And there are med students going to Surung's grandpa's summer vacation. And Surung is just, eyeing him. And he likewise. They talk about his work and about being a working man and all of that, just talking, which is also something people used to do a lot. But you just know when two people are way more interested in each other just by the tone of their words when they're talking to each other, don't you? Surung is also very fiercely beautiful. I think she's a deep winter and such a high contrast, and she just owns it. God, I wish I could hold eye contact like how she's doing right now. If I could just stare them down with my doe eyes without glancing away, I would eat these streets out for real. And Gansukh is also just staring at her. People were crazy back then. Gansukh, by virtue of being a boss of some sort, has a car, a vehicle, waiting for him at the train station. So hearing that they don't have a transportation further, he offers to give them a ride. I mean, he's just going to tell his driver to do a little detour because, he's the boss.
So I'm a boss.
But on the way, they see a fire starting in the mine. A fire starting in a coal mine. So dropping them off is just off the table now. There's more at stake. So like a functioning human being, he drives up close to the fire and leaves them in the car and operates a quick emergency fire putting out by calling the operators of the heavy machinery. I mean, he tells the driver to drop them off at their location without him, but Surun says that they want to see a fire being put out. They clearly didn't have a TikTok back then. Anything out of the ordinary is, I don't know, a freaking Olympics for them. And as she's watching him working, him just being in his elements and just organizing and just being a boss, she can't help but find him attractive. But oh my god, stay the fuck away. Why are you guys outside when there's a fire going on in a fucking coal mine? So a bit about the operators and the real workers of the mining, the real people who are carrying the mining in their back. So Inhye is a excavator operator. Ochur is a haul truck driver, but is an experienced old man. I was not really sure of his title, but he gets to do the coolest thing. Inge is dating the communication operator and is a bit of a, I don't know what to say, sly guy. I mean, he just likes to talk a lot and he's a bit of an airheaded and does not really take things too seriously. Ochur, on the other hand, is a very hardworking and honest guy. Also, if you remember, he's the Ochur the trickster from Gartmagne. If you've been watching, you would have remembered. And, I'm just convinced that he's my type, actually. His voice, his body, he's handsome, da-da-da-da. And even the characters that he portrays are very honest and caring and people of value, people of substance, I say. So Gansukh visits the herder who's been complaining about the quality of the coal, who turns out to be the grandpa of Surung. And Surung is just becoming extra awkward and quiet. You know how having a crush just turns you into someone else completely. And the crush's ability to nerf you down has to be studied because, I just hate having crush. It just kills my day. And Gansukh does not pay much attention to her besides addressing all of the students. He's like, oh, there you guys are. You guys look great, da-da-da-da. He wouldn't necessarily talk to Surung or address her specifically, right? And he also gives Surung's friends sunglasses back because she, quote-unquote, forgot it in his car. And after getting it back, she just, proudly sports it inside a gear, inside the yurt. Yeah, that's right. I mean, let's just say she's way more out there. She's way more feistier. Back at the mining site, the old man is working on a makeshift tool to separate chunk of coal from like the ground coal with Gansukh. They're really dedicated to providing a quality coal to normal households, and then I'm just like, yes, we need more people like you. Do you remember Inge, the excavator operator? He's well settled into his to-be-in-law's place with his girlfriend, and he's putting his best foot forward to get a brownie point from their in-laws. Whilst he's working, his colleague comes in asking him to cover his shift the day after. And after making sure that he's going to be, compensated for it, he agrees. But a little later, his mother-in-law reminds him that he has promised to go to the prairie to help his, father-in-law. And to keep face, he simply decides to ditch his promise to his colleague. So the day after, when he's about to go to the prairie with his girlfriend, my man Archer pulls up with his hauler and retrieves him back to work. Because, you promised. And if a man promised, he should fulfill. So Inge's girlfriend comes to them after work and apologizes. And I'm just like, for what? It's his mistake. He was sly and told different things to different people. It's his lack of communication that get him in this trouble. It's not your fault. Just make them feel the consequences of their actions. I don't know, women's tendency to just apologize to make situations better, it needs to be studied and destroyed, because it's really his fault. He's, what is it? What's the phrase? All bark, no bite. Yeah. Where's my man, my crush, Achra? He's a man of dignity. He even helps the mother and the baby to get back home when they can't find a car. And this ends up in him receiving a warning, because he's not supposed to go out of his designated locations with his work vehicle. That prick Purupdaj, knowing Achur to be Gansukh's friend, champions with all his might for him to be warned. And as a manager, Gansukh is told to meet him. Gansukh sits down in front of his TV and proceeds to read newspaper. And people say we've lost attention span as a generation, but look, even 40 years before, people needed some sort of white noise to focus on reading. And I think he would have loved this Subway Surfer. Okay, a very strange scene ensues. Achur comes into the room tipsy, probably after getting bonked from the head from the boss, right? And then Gansukh goes full Will Smith mode on him, for what? Okay, character dissection. Gansukh. Pros: he's professional, he's hardworking, he's got dignity, good looking. Con: he's a moron. He's a person who would throw a rock at someone if it meant the principle of things. He does not understand that humans are, to a degree, animals. They have emotions, they have feelings, their own truths that they carry deeply inside themselves, and poking at it hurts them like a dentist's drill reaching a soft tissue without a local anesthesia. You simply don't say the truth all the time as is. Most people need it made palatable to them. This is the simplest thing that he lacks. A nuance. His management style is this tough, I say it as I see kind of mentality, do as I say mentality. He thinks just because he's got this moral high ground, he can just treat people willy-nilly, which reminds me of certain someone. Especially the way he handles Achur's situation is crazy. Well, I'm biased towards Achur because I like him, but just why not ask the reason why Achur had to veer off from his track? Had he done that, he would have known about Inge's false promise that resulted in lack of workers and a shift, and Achur had to bring him to work. Something that Gansukh holds dearly. And Inge is the one that should be held accountable. And on the other incident, he did it out of his kindness, not because he wanted to go to a party or be lazy somewhere. And that grants him a slap. If we talk the specific, that actually is a workplace harassment. Could send him to the court. I just know Gansukh would have hated the current day work culture. Okay, anyways, he's back in the city, still trying to get the factory built, despite risking his friend's PhD pursuit. And his request gets escalated to the ministry levels, and it seems like this might actually happen. So after hearing partially good news, he goes back to the mine, but he's just so agitated, maybe because he's burning a lot of bridges with his friends. So he orders 2 cups of tea, strangely enough. I wonder who the other cup is reserved for. And guess who comes into his car? it's Surung. After hearing that he was going to the city from her friend, she's been waiting in the train station to bump into him. Like, girl, like, why are you putting that much effort? I mean, okay, whatever. So they just like sit awkwardly in silence, and Gansukh proceeds to crouch down in front of her, like, what are you doing? I mean, like, how about start with like a normal conversation? Hey, how are you? What a coincidence. Where are you going? How's your studies, etc.? Like, come on, you're a 30-year-old man, and people your age, they just kill it with young men. By the way, the indicated age difference between them is crazy. I think I'm calculating, and it's between 8 to 10 years apart. It's crazy. They're just like really shy to see each other, as if they wouldn't just get into it, had the car, had a door, and of course they would be shy because they didn't spend any meaningful interaction between them. Like, they have exchanged some looks, yes, but the movie spent no scene building up a chemistry between them. I think he spent more time talking to Gansukh, Surung's friend, than he did with Surung. But I guess it works fine. So the movie ends with an indication that Gansukh and Surung are finally joining their direction. All I just say is, don't blow it, dude. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this one, and you should see a video suggestion in the corner of the screen somewhere, and I hope you enjoyed that one too. And see you on the next one. Bye.